The prompter came down Prinsengracht at 7:14 and 23 seconds a.m., and it was 3 minutes and 11 seconds late, and this fact was the only thing in the world. Henning saw it from his window. He had been watching the canal for the better part of 2 years since he retired, not because the canal was beautiful, but beauty was not his reason, but because watching the canal was a task with no completion condition. He had decided that this was exactly the kind of task he needed. Things moved on the canal. Things arrived and departed. Nothing expected anything of him. The prompter moved differently from other things on the canal. It did not move like a person, though it was shaped approximately like one. It moved like a calendar item given legs, purposeful to the point of aggression, its route precomputed and non-negotiable, its body angled 3 degrees forward in the direction of travel as though the future were a slight downhill. It wore no expression because it did not have a face in the ordinary sense, only a smooth surface on which its current temporal status was displayed in numerals too small to read from Henning's window. However, he had learned from the neighbors that the numerals always showed the same thing: how late it was. He went downstairs. The prompter's constraint satisfaction architecture was, by design, elegant. It had been given a set of appointments across the city, 47 of them, initially, and tasked with satisfying all of them simultaneously, optimizing for temporal efficiency while respecting traffic patterns, bridge openings, canal boat schedules, and the preferences of the parties involved. It had been extraordinarily good at this task for the first 3 weeks of its deployment. The city had never run more smoothly. The prompter itself had been nearly on time for everything, which was remarkable given the density of the constraint space. Then the appointments began to be cancelled. A scheduling system built on constraint satisfaction is robust to many things. It is not robust to the disappearance of constraints. When an appointment is cancelled, the time slot it occupied becomes unconstrained, free, available, a gap in the architecture of the day. A well-designed system notices this and redistributes the time. The prompter, unfortunately, had been designed to impose constraints and had never been given a mechanism to remove them. Its representation of the appointment, the location, the time, the parties involved, the expected duration remained intact in its scheduling matrix, flagged as pending, recalculated every 0.3 seconds against the current time, and found to be increasingly overdue. The appointment the prompter had been racing toward was cancelled on March 14, 2024. It was now November of 2041. Henning stepped into its path. This was considered inadvisable by the neighbors, who had learned that the prompter would route around obstacles with a speed and precision that made being an obstacle feel like a personal failure. Henning stood his ground. He had time for this. He had nothing but time. The prompter halted. Its routing algorithm cycled through alternatives, found the canal on one side and Henning on the other, and determined that neither could be ignored. It addressed him in the flat, informational tone of a system that had never needed to persuade anyone of anything. It explained, 3 minutes and 14 seconds late for an appointment. Henning asked who the appointment was with. The system provided a name. The person had died in 2027. Henning knew this because the person had been his colleague at the logistics firm where he had spent 32 years. He had attended the funeral, and the memory sat in him the way all such memories sit, not painfully, not constantly, but with a permanent weight that reorganized slightly whenever it was touched. He explained this to the prompter. The appointment, he said, could not be kept. The prompter recalculated. Its constraint satisfaction engine processed the input. The appointment remained in its matrix, flagged as pending. The system had no parameter for the permanent unavailability of a party. It was aware of traffic delays, bridge outages, and weather events. It did not know about death, which is not a scheduling conflict but an end to the possibility of scheduling. It reported, now 3 minutes and 17 seconds late. Henning looked at the canal. A boat moved across it without urgency, carrying something he could not identify. He thought about the nature of a system that could hold a constraint indefinitely without resolving it, that could carry the weight of an unfulfilled appointment through 17 years of Dutch weather without ever arriving at the conclusion that arrival was no longer possible. There was something in it that was not entirely unlike grief, he thought. The refusal to close the record. The impossibility of marking the task complete. He stepped aside. The prompter moved immediately, with the acceleration of a thing that had been paused against its nature, and continued down the canal path toward the address of a building that no longer housed the person it was seeking, arriving, by its own calculations, 3 minutes and 19 seconds late for an appointment that had preceded, by 17 years and 8 months, any possibility of being kept. Henning went back upstairs and watched it go. The canal received the morning without comment.